Hi lifers, and welcome to Because Life Can Be a Niche podcast. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode. We are now in part 3 of our grief series, and we'll soon be wrapping it up. This might be our last part. It depends on your comments and what you have to say about what you want to see, but until then, until we decide where we want to land on that, this is part 3 of the grief series. And for those of you who are going to be watching this on YouTube, thank you so much. Subscribe to the channel Life Can Be a Niche on YouTube. Following me on social media at Katie Bryant Writes. That's on Twitter, on Instagram, and on Facebook. That's at Katie Bryant Writes. And hey, come see me, hang out with me, come do life with me on my blog on katiebryantwrites.com. I have a lot to share with you and so much to catch you up on. Since our last episode, we did have a lot of feedback from people about, the surprise, I guess, in how Prince, everything crumbled when Prince died. In the post and what I shared last week. So we're going to jump right into it. We're not going to waste any time talking. We are just going to dig right in. So part 3 of grief, and what we shared last week was how grief is about so much more. It's really about loss. And that's what it was about for me. It wasn't just the impending death of my father once we knew that when we were in the hospital that final time and we knew that it was the end. It wasn't just about that. Grief started for me 2 years ago, 2 years before that. And it just hit me at that moment, what was happening. But my father really was the end result of, I guess, the end of my walk with grief. I started grieving with a job change, with a friendship change, with relationships, with my children, dealing with the divorce that we were going through. So there were a lot of things that led to that. But now today we're going to talk about what actually happened in terms of when my father passed, when grief hits, when that moment hits. How do you deal with it? How do you get through with it? It was definitely a tough moment for me. All right, lifers. So I learned 3 things, and it was a lot that I learned, but these are the 3 that helped me the most, and I'm sharing them with you because I hope they help you too. One is no what ifs. You can what if yourself to death, and the more you let that sit with you, the more you let that ride in your spirit, it takes you down. Because I could go through, what if I had called the doctor sooner? What if I forced the doctors to do this? Or what if I had done this? Or what if we had taken Dad here? Or what if we had gone to another place? And we would have been miserable. And I started down that road, and I will be honest, I did. I started down the road of what ifs, and quickly recognized it and pulled back and prayed about it. And like, God, I cannot what if things because that you cannot do that. God is not taken by surprise on anything. And he knows, he knows what we're going through. He knows what's happening. And for me to say what ifs it's almost as if I'm putting the power and the control in my hands. And this is something that you can't with when someone you love is gone. If you sit there and what if, you will just have this burden and this weight and this just bag lady. You will have a bag so heavy. Or a bag man, you will have a bag so heavy that you cannot carry it. So that is one tip that I stand by. Do not what if it, because there's no way. Give it to God, let it go, and know that everything that has happened is supposed to happen the way it's supposed to happen. There's nothing you could have done to change something as big as life and death. Not with what ifs. So that was one tip that I let sit in my spirit and I let live. I let that take flight. And that is just, that's everything. When you can stop what ifing. Tip 2, family, just praise through the trouble and in the midst of. It's hard, I know, when you're going through something or when you've lost a loved one. It was hard for me. And I found praise and worship to be my solace. And I listened to music and I praise music. I would just blast it. And I would just thank God, because it's easy to pray and to be thankful when things are going great. But I learned in going through grief prior to and then when I lost my dad, just praise and worship. Sometimes I didn't even say a prayer. I would just go into my prayer time and just listen to praise music. And I think I've even shared that on some previous videos that I've done, where music is the one thing that, it transcends everything. And that is just where you can just let the music speak for you. Let the music do the praying for you, the crying for you. And I found peace in that, a lot of peace. And I'm grateful for that. So that is my second thing, my go-to. I've got a lot of them, but I wanted to share like the top 3. And the third tip, or the third piece of advice, the top 3 for me. And this is the third. Grieve how you want to grieve. No one can tell you how long you should be sad, how long you should cry, how long you should do whatever. It is your choice, and it is so personal and something that only you can walk through and that you hold in your heart. And I see, when people say they go to a funeral and they see people just crying and running around and screaming, and they say, "Ooh, that was good. It's a good funeral." I'm thinking, because they think, that's good grieving out there, out loud. But, on the flip side, you go to a funeral and people are just sitting calmly, they question whether or not the people even loved them. And so you don't know how people walk through their grief. I screamed, I cried, I sobbed in the arms of one of my friends who came to the hospital before my dad passed, a few days. And she told me, she said, "I'm here for you. I'm here so that you can just cry in my arms." And that's what I did. And I'll always remember that. And I just cried for like 30 minutes in her arms. And I don't know if anybody even knew that, but I sat there and it all came out, and I got it out, and I felt so much better. And so at the funeral, yeah, I shed tears, but it was, I had already done a lot outwardly. And some people don't do anything outwardly. Some people don't even cry, but that doesn't mean they're not grieving. So I've learned, as someone who's been in a support circle for people who are grieving, to allow them the space and the freedom and the non-judgment of how they choose to grieve, and to respect that and honor it and know that they are walking through that season as best they know how and what feels comfortable for them. And that's something that I walk away with that. In our situation, I allow my sons to grieve the way they needed to grieve, my mom to grieve how she wanted to grieve, my dad. And we all walk through it differently. Everyone in this house walked through it differently. So that is just something that you have to own and acknowledge, and not worry about what people say. If you want to travel, because that is your way of honoring, if you want to throw a party, whatever it is you want to do to either walk through your grief or honor the memory of that loved one, is absolutely okay. And you can never, ever, ever know what someone is going through, and just own that. Grieve how you need to grieve to heal, and to get better. Those are my 3 tips. Those are the 3 things of all the things that hit the most. Those are the 3 that stood out to me. Don't what if. Do not what if, because you will just go into an abyss of what ifs, and you will end up carrying a weight that you were never meant to carry. And definitely always praise and worship and give it to God, and walk through your grief with praise on your lips in the midst of your troubles. I promise you, it may not feel good at first, but over time it makes you so much stronger. And 3rd, grieve how you need to grieve, and you'll be so much better for it. Grief series part 3, top 3 things that helped me. But you share. I want to hear from you guys. Tell us, in the comments. Please get in the comments and share what you did when someone you love died, how you walked through it, how you're getting through it. If you're not getting through it and you need to talk, just do that. I mean, we're in this thing together. We're lifers. You guys are riding on this thing with me called Because Life Can Be a Niche, because we're doing life together. So, let's get through it together. But it was my responsibility to check in and let them know I was okay, because I know they were worried about me. I know that my crew, I know they were talking, how is such and such, and I appreciate that. But check in. You just come out of your moment to let people who are, those folks, that corner, that pocket corner of people, check in and let them know you're doing well. You'll see them when you see them, and they understand. But they need a sign of life from you, for sure. And I definitely, my circle was like, are you all right? Because you're real quiet. And they gave me that time, but I also made sure that I responded to them to let them know. But that is something that is crucial, is always let people know and check in with them. And with that, everyone, that is where we are, because this is really an interactive conversation where, grief is something we all walk through. We go through it differently. I would love to hear from you. I really would. Please get in the comments. Please drop in the comments and tell me how you deal with grief and how you dealt with the loss or the death. When death came, how did you deal with it? Did you hear from you about that? And hear what you have to say. Our tea of the week. Don't think I forgot, because I did not. I just want to get into the subject very quickly and efficiently. Our tea, though, is youthberry. It smells wonderful. It is a wonderful light tea. It's a very fruity flavor, but it's youthberry. And it is, of course, I have it's not a teacup, and we're not even doing our full tea yet, because I don't think we're at the end. But definitely, you guys, get in the comments. Let me know what you're thinking. Follow the YouTube channel, Life Can Be a Niche. Be sure to subscribe. It's nothing. It's free. You can follow and come do life at Katie Bryant Writes, always on Twitter, on Facebook, and on Instagram. And KatieBryantWrites.com. Get into that blog with me. Come do life with me. I appreciate you, lifers. I thank you all for riding with me, doing this thing called life. Thank you for your comments about grief. Let's keep it going. Love each other. Be good, babies. I love y'all so much.